Hello everyone and welcome to another video with Crafty Carol here from Northern Ireland. So today I am going to be using my product of this month that I'm using for my cards, which is the Scalloped Bloom dies. And I'll talk about those in a minute. I'm also going to use for my stamps the Boutique Blossom stamps. There's not very much stamping in this, and I have got a spare sentiment from Sending Salutations, which I seem to have lost at the moment, but it's here somewhere over there. Sending Salutations, some beautiful things here. I'm just using this little cheers to you. So, and I also with the Scalloped Bloom dies, there's a bundle with the Scalloped Blooms stamps, and I am actually going to use part of this stamp here, but I'll show you what I mean in a bit. Anyway, for this card you need all the bits here. So we need a card base, the normal card base, 21 by 14.8 if you're working with A4 cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5 inches if you're working with American sized cardstock, scored in the middle at 10.5 centimeters for A4, 4.25 inches for American cardstock. Then you need a couple of other pieces. I've chosen, and just choose your cardstock colour to match the DSP you want to use. I am using this glorious Bloom Boutique DSP that I've shown you before, and I'm using for this one crisp cantaloupe. So this piece here is 6 centimetres wide by 14.8 deep. And the piece of DSP that I'm going to lie on top of that is 5.5 centimetres wide by 14.8 deep. You also need, an envelope, yeah, and some scraps of basic white for your stamping, plus a piece of DSP that you're going to use for your flowers, and you can choose which side to use. I'm actually probably going to use this side. So to prepare the bits for the card, you need you need a little tiny bit of gold foil as well. I'll just show you that because I've actually cut out my bits already. But you want to cut out 2 of the tiny dies in gold, and I've actually used a retired punch to punch an even smaller flower out if you've got a small flower, or a small circle if you've got a tiny circle would do just as well. Then from your coloured cardstock you need to cut the 4th one in. This is the first one that's got the decoration on it, the dots around the edge, one of those. Then the next size down you're going to cut 2 of those, the next size down 1 of those, and the final size 1 or 2. It's up to you, and I'll show you what I mean when I come to put them together. So to save time, I have actually cut all of these. So let me just put all of these back. So and you can cut more layers if you want. I'll show you why it doesn't matter. But we're going to use those to create some flowers. So by the magic of me having prepared a lot earlier, we've got one large, one next size, 2 of the next size, so it's the ones with the dots around, you want 2 of those, and then I've got 2 small ones plus my 2 small gold ones and my extra punched gold one, and we're going to use these to make flowers. And I'm going to use an old embossing tool I have with a really big head, but you can use anything that's round, and I did play around with the tip of the take a pick tool, and that works just as well, so you could use that as well if you wished. But what we're going to do with all of these is you're going to get something soft. I'm using my stamping mat here, but you can use anything that's got a little bit of give in it, and you're just going to use the tool to rub in the middle. And this does take a little while, but as you rub, you can see it starts to break down the fibres in the paper, and you start to get some movement from it. So we're going to just increase that till we get some broken down fibres all around the centre of this. This is the biggest piece, so it takes the longest. And you can see there that we've got a sort of softer bit in the middle, and it will now start to curve. So now I'm going to put it in my hand and just press down and let it just fold itself as it wants. I don't really care how it closes, but you can do that. If you want to get a more wrinkled flower, then spritz this with some water and then just screw it up and then gently and carefully undo it again, and you'll find it's rather nice. But I preferred this sort of slightly less pushed look, I suppose, slightly less damaged look, slightly less concertinaed look. I don't know quite what to say, but so we're going to do that with all of these pieces. And this second piece, the one without the edge on it, the plain edge, will fit inside that first piece. So we're just going to shape that again, push it down, and it'll just curve how it wants, and that's fine. And then the third one, which is the first of these smaller bits with the dots on, just going to press it in like that. And that bit is going to go in the center with one of those. The second flower is going to be on its own, so I'm going to just do that slightly more gently. So it's just going to be on its own, press it down a little bit, try and just move it around so it doesn't get all the same crease there, that's better. There we go, and that is also going to have one of those flowers in it. And then we have the small bit. You can either use one of these bits or you can use both. It's up to you. Just to use both, they just fit together, and I would just overlap them very slightly like that, which is what I'm going to do, and put that centre in it. So now it is a matter of sticking all of those together. And to stick them together, you just want to put some glue sort of vaguely in the middle there. And then if there's a pattern, you probably want it to follow. So I want my patterns going across, I think, because this has got a sort of directional pattern on it. So I'll have the next one there. So making the patterns go the same way. So the flower, it would look a bit odd if they weren't, I have to say. I'll see. And then finally, this one in the middle, and I forgot to shape that. So we'll just gently do that too. Just like that. And I'm going to leave these to dry. So that's my first flower made, my large flower. The second flower, just shape that one too. And this one is just this particular die cut with the one flower in the middle. And then my final one. And as I said, you can use two or one of these. It's totally up to you whether you have one or two on this. I'm just going to overlap it so that the petals overlap each other, and it just makes it a slightly bigger flower, if you like. And then again, put the centre in like that. There, I'm going to let those dry for a second or two while we put the rest of it together. So for the card, we are going to fold this in half. I'm going to do it without my trimmer and see if I can actually get it level. So putting the edges together, holding it well, and then just using the bone folder. And that's actually okay. And then on the front, we're going to stick the piece of cardstock and then the DSP on top, just in the centre. Now you can measure this if you want. This is 6 centimetres wide and the card is 10.5 across. So you will need to measure in 2 and 2.5, or is it? No, hang on. So it's 4.5, so it'll be 2.25 in from each side. I am just going to use my eyes and put it roughly in the centre. It really does not have to be exact, but if you are obsessed with these things and want to get it exactly right, 4.25 centimetres in from each side. And I've realised I didn't give you these in inches, but they are in the blog post. You just want these pieces to be the length of your card, so 5.5 for US cardstock. And that is approximately, let me see what these are in inches. Oh, I can't pick my ruler up. Seems to have fixed itself there. So that is 2 2.25 inches. Yeah, 2 3/8 inches actually. And then this just slightly smaller, so you've got a border each side. So I'm just going to stick these to the cardstock while my flowers are drying and sticking well together. I don't think yeah, can't decide which way up this is supposed to be. I don't think it really matters. I think we'll have it this way up. So I've cut this, again, the same length as the cardstock, just 0.5 centimetre or, I don't know, about 1/4 inch narrower, just to give a pattern like that. And I've managed to get some dirt on it already, honestly. Don't know how I managed this, I really don't. Dirty fingers, I suspect, from doing too much. Right, so that is our basic card, and then we're just going to add these things on top, but we haven't quite finished yet because we want to do a little bit of stamping first. So the stamps I've got, I'm using I want to have some leaves. So I'm going to use the leaf stamp from the, what's it called, Boutique Blossoms set, this one here. And I'm using the outline one and the infill one. So So the outline one, I'm going to stamp in Memento. There we go, like that. And you can just stamp as many leaves as you want. So I'll just do one for now, because I have actually prepared these to save some time on this video. But I want to show you about how easy it is to then fit in this infill stamp. So I'm going to use crisp Cantaloupe to infill. So just open the pad here, ink up my stamp, and then it's the same shape as the stamp. And because you've done it in Memento, it is actually easy to see. I'm going to get my head in the way, I'm sure. So it's easy to line up. So you line it up and then press down, and that is your infill there. Got a little bit of extra there, but it doesn't matter. And then you can use the dies from the bundle to cut it out. And because I was trying to be efficient, I've already cut some out here. I thought I'd got 3, I've actually got 4. There's another one there, so I've got plenty of leaves now, which is fine. The other thing I'm going to stamp is my sentiment, and this is fairly overpowering with crisp Cantaloupe. I would normally have stamped it in crisp Cantaloupe, but I think I'm actually going to stamp it in Memento because I think that's a little bit overpowering, to be honest. Or you could pick out the green here, Peaceful Pine, which is in the paper, so that might work. And I'm just stamping this a little way in from the edge of my strip, and I'll show you why in a bit, which is that. And then I'll just put those stamps to one side for a minute. I've got my little stamp here, my little flower stamp again from the Boutique Blossoms, and that I'm going to use to decorate the inside of my card and also my envelope, and I'm going to infill it again. So again, I am going to just take the infill off and put the outline on first. The first thing I'm going to do is stamp it. Oh, I can't open my ink pad now. There. Got a slightly sore thumb and it's not behaving very well. So I'm just going to stamp just a few of these just to fill in the corner here, sort of close to get without sort of overlapping. And the same on the envelope. We'll have a couple down here, like that, and one up here, I think. There we go. And then, having cleaned that stamp, I will get my infill stamp and my crisp Cantaloupe and we'll fill it in. And again, the same thing. Because I've stamped it in Memento, I can see through it, and we're looking for the smaller leaf here to match with that smaller leaf there. And then I can line it up and infill. And these are instinctive stamps, so they're not exactly even with the colour. They vary across, which I rather like because it does make it much more like nature. Same on this one. Line it up and press, and I'll do the same with these here. So line it up by looking through it, and then I can press down, and I've infilled my stamp. So here I'm lining it up, turning it so it's just looking for that little leaf, because that's the one I want to fill in. I just moved that slightly, the card moved as I tried to press that down. That wasn't good, I should have held it down. And this final one, line it up and press it down. So I've got a little bit of overlap there, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. And then finally, I want to show you a little trick for my inside. I want to use thank you, and the actual, oh, I can get it just here to show you. The actual thing here says thank you for being there for me, but I don't want this bit, I just want that thank you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use one of these little notes, one of these sticky notes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up the bits I don't want, so the bit below the thank you. So I'm covering that up with a sticky note, and then I can ink up my stamp, make sure it's inked, take the note off, don't forget that bit, that's important, and then I can stamp it in the card, and I just get thank you without anything else in the stamp there. Again, I must have something dirty on one of my fingers because I've got another mark there. There we go. So that's how to do a part stamping. It's a nice little technique to know when you don't want the full sentiment you've got, or perhaps you haven't got quite the right sentiment. Use a sticky note to cover it up. ink up your stamp. Don't forget to take the sticky note off and then stamp. So that is all our bits done. So we now just need to add these bits to the front here. And it's up to you where you put it. I sort of lay them out really, sort of put roughly where I want to have them. And I've forgotten one step, and I'll show you that in a bit. And then you can decide where you want your leaves and how many leaves you want. And I'm going to have my sentiment sort of coming across from that flower, so I want some room across here. So I'm just going to trim this. Yeah, if I can find my snips. And I'm going to trim it about there. You can use your trimmer if you want to, but I just want to get this perhaps a little bit less than that. Like that. And then I'm just going to flag the end. Like that. There we go. Get rid of the bits. I don't know. I seem to always have them all over my table. And this one's going to go under. Whoops, that centre has slipped. You see what I mean about making sure it's glued down properly first. That one obviously needs a little bit longer to, I'm just going to press it to try and get it to hold. So do make sure these are stuck properly before you move on. So then we can put this together. I might have a third one, we'll see. But I'm going to start by sticking my big flower down. And of course you can play with the flowers. You can alternate different DSPs if you want. I'm going to have that at an angle, my lines on the paper at an angle. You could have 3 different types of DSP. I could have used that one plus this in the centre one and then that. Play around and decide what you want. Totally up to you. Then you can decide again for this one where, you know, which ones do we want there? Who knows? Have a play around and decide. So we'll have this one about here, just tucked behind a little bit, I think. I'm trying to get the dots on the paper to line up the same way because it'll look a bit strange if I don't, to be honest. And then the leaf, I'm just going to put some glue just down the stem of the leaf, if you like, because then I'm just going to use my fingers to just shape that a little bit. And we'll have one leaf up here. And we'll have that one down there, I think, yes. So again, just using my fingers to shape that and just the glue on the centre bit there. And we'll have that one just under there. And I'll probably put a third one on, to be honest. Might even use all 4. Let's see. We'll have a third one here. So I'll just shape that and put one coming down here, I think. And then this sentiment I'm going to have coming across. So I'm going to put some glue just on the edge of it there. You can shape that if you want. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to have it coming across just like that. And then this flower goes on the top. So you can see I've not put any dimensionals on any of these. You could, but to be honest, these flowers have plenty of dimension. So you don't really need any further dimension because it would add to the depth of the card. So there are my pieces. Do I want another leaf? Probably not. I'll keep that for another project. Right, and the only thing to finish it off is I've actually used these Sunset Sparkle sequins just to add. I just thought the flowers needed something more. So I'm just going to put a little sequin, or quite a big sequin for these, in the middle of these flowers. So one in the big one in there, big one in that one, and one of the smaller ones in that one. There we go. And that is my really simple flower card made with the Scalloped Bloom dies. And I hope you like that. That's that one with its matching envelope. And I had made one in Hydrangea Hue just to show you the difference. So this one I actually put an outline on the sentiment as well because I felt it needed it against this paper. That I think is fine against that paper. So up to you. You can play around with it, do what you want. I'm just going to pull this leaf down a little bit. Actually, I think it's a bit too hidden. Let's see if I can just ease it down a bit. That's better. Okay, so I hope you like these cards. I hope you think about getting this set. The Scalloped Bloom dies I think are wonderful. I'm going to be using them forever, I'm quite sure. They really are super. I've got more ideas for a similar card like this, to be honest, which I shall show you in a future time. You'll notice the difference here. I just use one flower there. I actually prefer it with the two, but up to you which way you do it. And I didn't get those dots going the same way. Never mind. I'm not going to take it off again now. Thanks for joining me today, and if you want to know all the measurements again and check them out and see the various stages of making this card, then please do go to my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk and sign up for my emails so you know when I'm doing my lives. I hope to get my lives back up and running once I've sorted out my problem with my streaming software, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.